All right, let's cut right through the noise. We're going to tackle one of the biggest, most overused buzzwords in tech right now, Agentic AI. It seems like everything is agentic these days. Workflows, chatbots, you name it. So we're going to figure out what that word actually means.
And that's the heart of the problem, isn't it? This quote just nails it. When you slap a label on everything, the word becomes meaningless. It's just marketing fluff. And that's exactly what's happening.
So this is the big question for today. We're not talking about slick demos that sound cool. We're talking about the nuts and bolts, the architecture. What really has to be going on under the hood for a system to truly earn that agentic label?
To get to a real definition, we first have to unpack why this word is so misunderstood. So let's just dive right into the buzzword problem.
This right here is the fundamental misunderstanding. When we hear agentic, our minds jump to, some kind of superintelligence or complete autonomy, maybe even replacing people. But what it's really about, in a technical sense, is so much more specific. It's not about how smart the AI is, it's about control and decision structure and how it makes choices.
And this is the bottom line. An AI can give you this incredibly fluent, smart-sounding response, but that doesn't make it an agent. The real test is what's happening behind the scenes. Is it actually deciding what to do next, or is it just following a really complicated, pre-written script? Agency is about the architecture, not how well it can talk.
Okay, so with that confusion out of the way, let's lock in a clear, technical definition. This is going to be our anchor for everything else we talk about.
Think of these 4 points as a non-negotiable checklist. A true agentic system has to be able to figure out its own next move, and it does that based on a high-level goal, not a specific command. It also has to do this in the messy real world, where things are uncertain. And, this is the big one, it has to do it without a human spoon-feeding it every single step. If you're missing even one of these, you're not really looking at an agent.
Now let's build on that definition. We can break it down even further into 5 key architectural pillars. This is where we get into the real mechanics of how these things work.
So, pillar number 1 is goal orientation. And just look at the difference here. Regular automation is all about executing a rigid script. Do this, then do that. It just follows instructions. An agentic system, on the other hand, works towards a goal, something like ensure stakeholders are informed. That's not a step-by-step instruction. That requires judgment. It requires making decisions.
Pillar 2 is so important. Handling uncertainty. Automation is built for a predictable world. If anything unexpected happens, it just breaks. It's fragile. But an agent, by its very nature, has to work when things are messy, when inputs are incomplete, when the world doesn't follow the script. It has to be adaptable.
Okay, pillar 3, control over action. Now this is where most of the so-called agents you see in demos completely fail to test. Look, if a person has to click approve on every single step or pick the next tool from a list, then the human is the agent. The AI is just a fancy tool. For a system to be truly agentic, it has to be the one choosing the next action, deciding when to move, and knowing when the job is done.
Which brings us to pillar 4, memory. And this quote is just perfect. Think about it. If a system can't remember what it's already done, what worked, what failed, it's just firing off random tasks into the void. Memory is what connects those actions together. It's what turns a simple execution into, well, intelligent behavior.
And the final pillar, feedback and adaptation. This is huge. An automation script hits an error, and it just stops. Game over. A real agent has to be able to see that something went wrong, understand the failure, and then adjust its strategy to try and fix it. It doesn't just stop on an error, it reacts to it.
So, now that we have our 5 pillars, let's use them to bust some of the most common myths flying around. This is how you separate what's real from what's just clever marketing.
Let's be crystal clear here. Just using a powerful LLM does not make something an agent. Having a really natural conversational output? Nope. Even calling a bunch of different tools? Still not necessarily agency. These are just features. They don't prove that the system is actually in control or can adapt when things go wrong.
This right here is the absolute key takeaway. It is so easy to get wowed by how well a system can talk. But that fluency can be a mask, hiding a very rigid, non-agentic system underneath. The real question is always, who or what is in control?
And that leads us to this really useful term, decorated automation. Honestly, this is what most of the agents out there actually are. You've got a fixed, predictable workflow at the core, but it's been decorated with a slick language interface to make it look intelligent. The dead giveaway? As soon as you go off script, the intelligence just vanishes. That's how you know it was never a real agent in the first place.
Okay, so we've defined it, we've busted the myths. But why does this actually matter? What are the real-world stakes of getting this distinction right?
Here's a super simple, super powerful test you can use yourself. The next time you see a demo of an agent, just ask this one question. What happens when something goes wrong? What if an API fails or the data is messy? If the answer is, it stops and waits for a human to fix it, then you know you're not looking at a true agent.
You know, the dangers of mislabeling this stuff are very real. When we call simple automation agentic, we get overconfident. We deploy these fragile systems that break the second they touch the real world. And that creates totally unrealistic expectations from users. And you know what that does? It erodes trust in AI as a whole.
And all this brings us to a more mature, nuanced way of looking at it. Agentic does not automatically mean better. Just look at this. For a ton of problems, good old-fashioned automation is the smarter, safer, more predictable choice. Real agency is incredibly powerful, yes, but it's also less predictable, and it comes with higher risk and cost. It's not an upgrade, it's a trade-off. And that's really where we land. Agentic AI is a real thing. It's a powerful idea, but it's also pretty rare, and it's widely misunderstood. When we strip away the buzzwords and we focus on what's actually happening under the hood, we can make much smarter decisions. Because at the end of the day, having clarity about what something is and what it isn't, well, that is the real intelligence. Thanks for tuning in.